4.9 kilograms I've lost in 9 days because of this. I was supposed to take this for a month, but I had to stop after 2 weeks because I lost too much weight. Come in. Thought I'd lean up a little bit. I didn't want to end up like this guy. I told people not to take this. I recommended them against it, and you won't hear me say this a lot, but I was wrong. I was supposed to use this miracle fat loss drug for a month, but I'm gonna have to stop after 2 weeks because I'm gonna fade away. Now, I'll put 2 comparison pictures up here, and I know there's not a great deal of difference because I wasn't exactly massive to begin with. But 4.9 kilograms in less than 2 weeks, that's a lot. The embarrassing thing is here, quite a few of you will remember that maybe even a couple of months ago, I did a video telling you not to ever use this fat loss compound or drug. As a personal trainer, I was very, very against it. Here's the problem. If we look at a population as a whole, let's say that's everyone in the United Kingdom. Do you know how many people in the United Kingdom have got a gym membership? About 14%. And 14% of those aren't even using it all the time. So there's a massive cohort of people in the United Kingdom that are unmotivated, on the borderline of giving up. They probably, I don't know, downloaded Joe Wicks's SSS 90-day hit plan, did a couple of burpees, and I'm not surprised they gave up. The majority of people in the world are unmotivated. And do you blame them? Conflicting information, idiots online. Oh, do keto, do burpees. Have you ever done a burpee before? So although my advice still stands, that cohort A should be increasing step count, reducing food intake, eating a high protein diet, going to the gym, you've heard it all before. I thought to myself, before dismissing this fat loss compound, could it benefit cohort B? So I called up my local dealer, no luck. So instead, I found a peptide clinic in Australia called Biovate. And as a duty of care, I had to do a doctor consultation. I was completely honest and transparent with them. I even said I was taking the peptides to do a video. But due to how absolutely rubbish the BMI scale is, I come up as overweight, borderline obese. So with my legitimate, truthful height versus weight, I can qualify for this. But anyway, how rubbish the BMI is another video altogether. Semaglutide, also the brand name is Ozempic. I think Ozempic is just the way they put it in the pen, but I got it in its peptide form. And everyone's talking about everyone in Hollywood taking this compound, taking this drug. So I thought to myself, if everyone in Hollywood and everyone is taking semaglutide, is it really that good? And is this really gonna help cohort B when it comes to dieting? And my God, if semaglutide was a person, I'd owe them an apology. Let's start with the mechanism. How does semaglutide work? I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but it's a GLP-1 agonist that mimics a receptor that talks to your brain. And like I said, it's a glucagon-like peptide 1 agonist. It's a GLP-1 agonist, obviously. Without trying to be Derek from More Plates, More Dates, let me explain how this works. I'm 34 years old, and it feels like my entire life I've been on a diet. I was the fat kid at school asking dinner ladies what was fattening, and through all of that time, I developed a chip on my shoulder because no one really told me how to lose fat. And when I learned fat, I became the calorie deficit guy. Piers Morgan even called me the Gordon Ramsay of fitness.
Being called the Gordon Ramsay of the fitness industry, James Smith.
TDE, this is going to represent the amount of calories that we burn on a daily basis. And the majority of fat loss compounds that I've taken before upregulate your metabolism, like clenbuterol. Throughout the years in my 20s, trying to fit in the fitness industry, I would take things that would upregulate my metabolism. I'd be getting tremors, anxiety, shakes, cramps, but I'd be getting leaner because my body was burning way more calories. And semaglutide doesn't work with that mechanism. Semaglutide works by reducing the appetite, so therefore you eat less. And there are so many people across the world that think they have a broken metabolism. They think that for some reason their bodies failed them, and they point their finger to absolutely everything. But in reality, when they start taking Ozempic or semaglutide, they drop loads of weight. The majority of people's metabolism problems aren't that they're not burning enough calories, it's that they're over-consuming the amount of calories they need. Because if it was their metabolism that was broken, when they started taking Ozempic or semaglutide, they wouldn't lose weight. Now, my entire life, I've got friends that I look at and they do this incredible thing where they're eating a meal, then they leave food on their plate and they say, I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean you're done? How do you leave food on your plate? How do you say no? How do you forget to eat? When people get to dinner and they're like, oh my God, I completely forgot to, How did you forget to eat? All I think about is food. It's all I think about. It's the main thing that makes me happy on a daily basis. So whenever I diet or I go into a calorie restricted period of my life, I have to give up a lot of happiness in a bid to try and make myself happy. It's like a paradox. After taking semaglutide, I thought I'd feel sick all the time, but I just felt not really bothered by food, which was completely new to me. I felt in control. My missus said, do you want a bit of chocolate? I said no. She looked at me and thought, who is this man I'm sharing a house with? Because that's not the man I remembered before. Now, it's not all happy days. I struggled a lot to get my protein quotas in. I never hit it any of the time I was taking it. And in fact, one morning I tried forcing in a protein shake when I wasn't hungry and it crippled me for about an hour of feeling sick. But still, I ate slower. I enjoyed my food. And for the first time in my life, I had a microwave meal. I got halfway through and thought, oh, better put that in the fridge for later. In 34 years, that's never happened. All of those people that eat slowly and enjoy their food and don't wolf it down so quick you think they get indigestion, I was one of those people for 2 weeks. And it's not that I couldn't enjoy food. It's not that I didn't enjoy sitting down and having something. It's just, I ate less, probably 30% less. And I didn't have to try. I didn't track calories, didn't hit high protein. I just ate less. I wanted to hate this so much, but after taking this for 2 weeks, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was walking into a shop the other day and I saw a guy, he was pretty fat, he was a big boy. The first thing that came to me was, if that was my dad, I would jab him with this when he's not looking. And he'd go, oh, bloody hell son, what was that? I go, shut up dad, see you in a week. There are people out there that just don't want to hashtag rise and grind, hashtag calorie deficit. And I feel like this could be perfect for them. But let's get into administration. Injecting's not easy. It's one of those things a lot of people can get squeamish with. The good news is that compared to other compounds, anabolic steroids, you've got to inject like twice a week. And usually for anabolic steroids, you go to the upper outer quadrant of your ass cheek. This is like a least vascular area. So imagine me 10 years ago, I'm laying in bed. I've been taking clenbuterol all day. I've got tremors in my hand. I've got an intramuscular injection site. I'm putting the pin into my glute. Suddenly, I get cramp in my hand. I turn in to the guy out of Scary Movie. Use my strong hand, child. I've got an injectable pin sticking out my ass. It's about 1 inch into my glute. My mum comes down. She goes, James, darling, dinner. I'm like, Mum, don't come in. I'm cleaning my room. I've now got a needle sticking out my ass and I've got to inject that testosterone into my butt cheek, hoping I haven't hit a vein. But with peptides, it's a lot easier. I'll show you. This is for educational purposes, by the way. If you were to consider doing any peptide of any type, you would need to talk to a doctor, get a script, make your own decisions. I'm just doing this to inform you. Peptides use a much smaller injection, which goes in something called subcutaneous, which means it goes into belly fat. So this kind of injection, it's not very big, it's not very scary. And granted, the first time you inject with it, it'll be pretty fucking frightening, but it's not too bad. The things I do, education, isn't it? So it's not too scary. I mean, there's not much that can go wrong with that. As far as subcutaneous injections, 1 of those a week. And for a lot of people, that could mean losing kilograms of fat on a weekly basis. And when you look to maybe only injecting once a week, that's very infrequent compared to other peptides. There are other peptides like CJC 1295 and ipamorelin, which is a growth hormone peptide that Andrew Huberman and Joe Rogan take. And in fact, you actually probably want to subscribe to this channel if you haven't, because my next video will be explaining what 10 weeks taking growth hormone secretagogues did to my training recovery. But for that, you're injecting once to twice a day. For fat loss, once a week. And I appreciate that for the full efficacy of these compounds, you'd want to take them for months, not weeks. I don't think it's too much of a bad deal. Now, it's worth looking up on semaglutide and its side effects, and that was one of the main things that was getting me worried about taking it in the first place. And one of the biggest side effects was muscle loss. But I appreciate if you're going to completely nuke someone's appetite, getting protein in, enough protein to maintain and grow muscle is difficult as it is, let alone with no appetite, and I've definitely struggled with that. But I think that the majority of populations that have been taking this compound have not been trained. So therefore, if you get untrained populations that aren't lifting weights or doing resistance training and you reduce their appetite, of course they're going to lose massive amounts of muscle. But I think if we can educate people to lift weights and eat as much protein as they can whilst taking things like this, it can have a really beneficial effect to their health. And we've always got to weigh up negatives of a compound versus benefits it could have to someone's life. And I can't help but think that someone losing 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 kilograms of fat using something like this, the health benefits they're going to get are going to far outweigh any side effects you get from it. So if you were to ask me if this is going to be the end of obesity, before I would have said no. Now I'm saying I'm not sure. Because what I think this compound will do for millions of people is vastly reduce the amount of people that are unmotivated, that have given up, that are never going to want to set foot in a gym or work with a personal trainer. And I think it's going to vastly grow the amount of people that become motivated. Because one of the biggest lessons I can give you in life, even outside of fat loss, is that action always precedes motivation. Everyone goes through life thinking they need to find motivation, then start with something. But that's not the way life works. You need to start at something and you only find motivation on the way after you've begun. And for a lot of obese people out there that have given up, they're probably waiting for a burst of motivation to come along. And quite frankly, it's not going to come. But if you inject them, that will reduce their appetite and they drop 10, 15, 20 kilograms, they're going to find motivation along the way. And I think a large amount of them will be able to keep it up. Now, this drug isn't perfect by any means, but if scientists and all those boffins out there can continue to improve it for years to come, well, the landscape of fat loss might look vastly different in 20 years. And I'll give it to you one more time, because a lot of people that have followed me for years never really heard me say this. When it comes to fat loss drugs, I was completely wrong. Don't get used to that. Thanks for watching.